Good afternoon from Camp Randall Stadium. We're in Madison, Wisconsin. Mason, we've had our Midwest tour. It's been Notre Dame, Wrigley Field, the Hall of Fame, but you wanted to come see Camp Randall. What do you think?
Well, it's just classic Big Ten stadium. I mean, we saw one at Nebraska. It just has that old-style football feel to it.
Right, we're going to get you some B-roll and show you what we're looking at, which is the field house, the other end of the stadium. Maryland hasn't played too well here. This is Wayne Viener. That's Intern Mason for Red Turtle Productions. Bruce back in Baltimore, I'm sure watching this with interest. Past couple times here, hasn't really worked out.
No, the first time that the Terps played here, they lost 51-7. And then the next time, it was back in College Park. Maryland lost that game 31-24. And now this year, it's another chance back here at Camp Randall.
Meyer Consulting Engineers. In the past 5 years, our organization has completed over 1,300 projects in the U.S. and abroad, including many structures at the University of Maryland. For structural engineering and materials testing and inspection, call Meyer Consulting Engineers. Right, and that game is on October 21st. So when we walked in, of course, you see the Barry Alvarez statue, and I noticed how many former players are coaches here at Wisconsin, including Jim Leonard, that I believe played for the Ravens and the Jets back. He is now the defensive coach here, and Paul Christ, who was at Pittsburgh, is the head coach here. I also read an article in preparing for this that said this is the most Wisconsin team of many. Big, strong, run the ball. What's your impression of Wisconsin football over the past few years?
Well, in the last podcast when we talked about Wisconsin, I said that every year they graduate X number of starters, and they always replace them with players that have been in the program for a long time, which is just a really good thing. I mean, they replace experience with more experience. There are never a ton of freshmen playing on this team, and it really lets a team that plays good defense and runs the ball just extremely well. Old-style football, and they win a lot.
They win a lot. They have some big guys and big pounding running attack. Some of the names on the wall here of all-time greats, of course, Ron Dane is up there. Alan Amici, who played for the Colts in the greatest game ever played. Of course, you saw a lot about that game in 1958 at the Hall of Fame. He was a running back here as well. So you also mentioned in the podcast that depending on who played the schedule that Wisconsin plays, maybe Maryland will get one or two more wins out of this. Talk about that for a bit.
Well, if you listen to the TerpTalk podcast, I always talk about other teams' schedule, like best case scenario and worst case. And the worst I see Maryland doing playing the Wisconsin football schedule this year is 7-5, which is what a lot of people think the Terps will end up with as the best case for the schedule that they currently play. But if Maryland played the Wisconsin schedule, I see them being around 9-3 or 8-4 if they can pull one or two good games off.
And I noticed, hearkening back to a few weeks ago when we were at FAU on the field there, we were talking about Lane Kiffin. FAU comes here in the second week of the season, see if Lane Kiffin can put anything together. They got a big transfer, by the way. FAU gets the former Auburn quarterback going there, and he doesn't have to set it a year because he's a grad transfer.
Yeah, they have two players from the documentary that many football fans watch on Netflix, Last Chance U. So they're bringing in two guys from East Mississippi Community College, DeAndre Johnson and John Franklin. So Lane Kiffin does have a lot of speed and power at the quarterback position. It's just going to be how do those two guys work into their system? Are they going to play them both, or is John Franklin going to continue as a wide receiver?
It's going to be an interesting role there. Of course, probably Lane Kiffin looking for his next big head coaching job after FAU already. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Viener Consulting in Rockville, Meyer Consulting Engineers, and I also like to thank Jordan, the editor. He's behind the camera. We want to give you this reverse angle look with the field house behind us. This stadium is celebrating its 100th year. From the outside, it's really hard to see. And might give you a shot from the outside here. On the left, to our left, looks a little bit like Bird Stadium from the outside, and the right, you really can't see it from the road. What's your impression?
My impression, it's really well hidden. You know, it's kind of tough for us to find the stadium, and even though it has about 4 levels of suites on both sides, you can't really see it from the street. Mm-hmm. It has a old wall, kind of like Soldier Field, and then inside they kind of rebuilt this new stadium, and when we were waiting here, they had a calendar celebrating the 100th year where you could see every step that they made to make this stadium the 80,000 seat monstrosity that it is today.
It is, and of course it's known for Jump Around, which you say takes place right behind us here. It looks like a great place to watch a college football game. As impressive as Nebraska?
It's interesting for me because it only has one upper deck. Nebraska was way up there.
Yeah, that was a stacked up stadium. Jordan, I don't know if you can get a shot of it, but up to our left, it says, "Welcome to America's best college town." And after driving through Madison, I have to say that's fairly accurate.
Yeah, it looks like the whole place looks like what they're trying to do right now on Route 1 to make Maryland a better college town, but this is just known for just a great place to go to college and see a college football game.
Right. Now, you mentioned about how many of the seats have chairbacks, and chairbacks are all attached. So maybe one day, Maryland will have a look like this. Maybe we'll get up to that, and probably if you closed off both the end zones, you could get maybe 60,000 good seats there. But we'll talk more about Maryland Stadium, and maybe we'll get a look at the practice facility, because we all know the best practice facility in the Big Ten and probably in the nation is
the new Cole Fieldhouse. We got a chance to check that out, and that is just a really impressive facility. But, it's always an arms race.
And this is part of the arms race. We look at the huge jumbotron there. This is definitely one of the centers of the arm race in the Big Ten. Live from Madison, it's Intern Mason. This is Wayne Viener for Red Turtle Productions. We'll see you soon.